Here's a currently popular favorite for both American or South American popular dance lovers. Deep in a Dream, and Helen Forrest is the singer. Director Artie Shaw not only...
Welcome!
Okay, oh my gosh.
Yes! We are back in Palm Springs. The heat.
We're
Today,
the hottest place in the whole
yes,
country.
45 Celsius. What is it in Fahrenheit today? 100
Today it's 120.
20.
But it might be more than that.
Might be more than that. We are broadcasting live because that is what we do here. We are not afraid. We are not into all those fancy montage. It's all done live, guys. It's like
not fancy. Just come as you are.
Okay.
If you don't like it, too bad for you.
Too bad for you.
I've learned that. I don't like how I look. Too bad for me.
Too bad for you. But we managed to survive 1 month in the mountains. We were here near Palm Springs, not too far. The temperature was, of course, a little bit better, but here we are enjoying our air conditioning. Especially thanks to our sponsors who make this possible.
Thiel and Melgarzana Minsa. We love you here at the Leo Zagami Show because it's because of you that this show goes on.
And because of the people who also purchased this book,
Yep.
Vatican's Top Secret Alien Agenda. This week I also had a couple of shows with L.A. Marzulli. Next week with Sean Atwood and more shows to come. But of course, once a week we are here with the Leo Zagami Show, me and Christy. And today we are exposing Silicon Alchemy, Jesse Michels and the Thiel UFO narrative. Now, for those who don't know who Jesse Michels is, he is an investor at Thiel Capital and the creator of a very popular YouTube channel called American Alchemy, where he covers very unconventional topics, of course, focused mostly on the UAP subjects. He used to work previously with Google and helped produce Eric Weinstein's podcast, The Portal. He operates as an investment analyst, associate. He's an associate basically to Peter Thiel. Yes, Peter Thiel, the guy who is obsessed with the Antichrist, who has a very misleading view of the Antichrist, by the way. He actually works for the Antichrist. Now, one thing that I exposed and I explained, as you know, in The Rise and Fall of a Frankist Monster is the connection that Peter Thiel, as a native of Frankfurt, Main in Germany, has with the Sabbatean Frankists. And this is very important for our show today. For those who don't know Jesse Michels, he is an Ashkenazi Jew who comes from a Reformed Jewish background, basically a Sabbatean Frankist background, who links with Peter Thiel. And I said, Peter Thiel is not a Jewish person, but in Frankfurt, that was the place near Offenbach. It's basically in the outskirts there where Jacob Frank had his castle, recruited also a lot of Christian families. And so here we have a very incredible connection, because this is a young guy, a very young guy, likable guy, a very good communicator. Jesse Michels is probably the future of a controlled narrative which is already ongoing, in which Peter Thiel is not just a passive figure. So let me explain a little bit better. Palantir Technologies is, as we know, considered a major defense contractor. So when we are talking about the legacy program, we know that one of the main central, we have the CIA, we have the Air Force intelligence, and we have the defense contractors. And of course, in the legacy program, contrary to what some people, have been saying, because conspiracy theorists online claim that Jesse Michels is actually hosting American Alchemy. He admitted he actually has the money thanks to the work he has done for Peter Thiel to do this very well-produced show. But this guy is also not really somebody that comes out of nowhere. So, Jesse Michels has worked at the Huffington Post, Ted Grunch, at the Columbia Daily Spectator. He was working, he grew up here in California, in Santa Monica. His father, a psychotherapist called Barry, who also had a passion for UFOs. But he also was an intern for the Daily Show of Jon Stewart, Charlie Rose. He is somebody who went on to work in operations in artificial intelligence at Google. And then he contributed, like I said, to the show with Weinstein. And then suddenly, in 2023, out of nowhere, his American Alchemy comes out, and one of the first guests was David Grush, which is one of the major gatekeepers here. So let's go and check out this Sabbatean Frankist called Jesse Michels. somebody who knows very well what kind of game he's playing here. Huh? He's no naive person. He's very intelligent. But first of all, I want to introduce you to Jesse Michels and also his involvement in Thiel Capital, which is Thiel Capital is basically the holding that puts together Palantir and all the various interests of Peter Thiel. We know that Palantir provides critical AI and battlefield intelligence software, such as the Maven Smart System, which is an official program of the US Defense Department. The Department of Defense and various intelligence agencies are very much connected with Peter Thiel, and is very much involved with the war in Ukraine, with Israel, and the company, actually Palantir, not Palantir.
I had a hard time with that somehow.
Okay, Palantir was founded with early backing from the CIA. So it's pretty obvious what Jesse Michels is doing here. It's very much, I mean, when you are in that kind of situation where suddenly you also admit to have made a bucket loads of money thanks to Peter Thiel, and now you can dedicate yourself to a subject which is not really remunerative otherwise. So let's see from the mouth of Jesse Michels what it's all about.
Learn a lot from working with Thiel, or what have you learned from him?
I've learned a lot from him, like an absurd amount. I think he has 1 million superpowers. I'd say like maybe the 2 best superpowers are like attracting incredible people. That would maybe be number 1. Number 2 is, and he's called it a look ahead function, which is a funny way of putting it, but his ability to like evaluate a project and see into the future of like, is this going to work or is it not going to work based on like its current elements is Nostradamus-esque. It's freaky.
Now is the time to take risk.
Yo, what's up, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. Today, we have a podcast with Jesse Michels. He's an awesome dude. He actually is an investor at Thiel Capital, which is Peter Thiel's like family office. And at the same time, he's recently started making content under the brand American Alchemy. And so like he's creating this new brand. It's really cool. And he talks about like esoteric ideas like, are aliens real? He talks about quantum physics and a bunch of other just crazy out there ideas. And so I was like, okay, look, we got to get him on the podcast, just hang out. So this conversation was really fun. It's more conversational than most of my other podcasts, which have been like asking researchers like questions about their research. This one's more conversational. So I hope you guys enjoy. And without any further ado, let's get into it.
Let's get it started, man.
Let's do it. I love it.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
pumped.
So
Honored to be here.
yeah, man, Jesse, thank you for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate it.
Hell yeah. I can't wait.
Look, I could like try to intro you myself, but there's so many different things and so many different ways that you can be described. So like, how do you describe yourself at this time?
I'm so bad at describing myself. And when people ask me what I do, I give them like the most lame, like I invested in tech or whatever. And then it's funny, actually, I was at a conference the other day and I said that to somebody and it was like this woman who clearly was like super intuitive. And she was like, I think you're like a very like, she said this with, I didn't say anything. She was like, I think you're actually deep, like way more philosophical than you are necessarily just interested in tech. And I was like, what? And she's like, say more about that. Cause it's not just tech investing. And I was like, that's spot on. But yeah, it's hard to sort of, I guess, categorize, but yeah, I guess the career kind of the short of it is I studied history at Columbia. I was really interested in kind of like public ideas and public life and politics and society. And so I worked for Jon Stewart at The Daily Show just as an intern. And then I did the same for Charlie Rose and I always thought I was going to get into media, and then worked at Google for 4 years. And I loved my experience there, but I also felt like there was a lot of kind of like bureaucracy and red tape. And I was kind of frustrated with that. And by the end of my time there, I thought that maybe kind of born of that frustration and of my interest in like ideas and interesting people, I could just bring people into Google's like TED Talks equivalent and interview them. And maybe that would be generative in terms of finding my next thing. I hit up Peter as part of that, Peter Thiel, who's my current boss. He actually couldn't make it into the talk, but we ended up getting lunch and just hit it off. And then from there, over the last 4 years, I've been at Thiel Capital and have worn a few.
So what does Peter Thiel want from American Alchemy? From a show that basically is inspired by people like Jacques Vallée, who Jesse Michels often refers as his mentor, and we have explained the connection here between all the various Vatican gatekeepers, Jacques Vallée, the military-industrial complex, and the legacy program. So some people think that Peter Thiel is financing this operation to facilitate the disclosure that could benefit his company. But guys, you must be blind. I mean, Peter Thiel is one of the biggest defense contractors, and you think he doesn't already have a connection with the legacy program? I mean, they're using reverse engineering already. So it's like people think that all this show, American Alchemy, is to push finally disclosure so then Peter Thiel can use the alien technology. You must be smoking some really bad stuff, because in reality, Peter Thiel is part of the problem, because he's, of course, one of the biggest defense contractors we have at the moment. And just like other people like Elon Musk, and he has some very strange ideas. In particular, Peter Thiel, we know he's connected to what we know as the Straussian movement. Now, people will say, what the heck is the Straussian movement?
Yeah, what is that? What is that? I want to know.
The Straussian movement is a movement that basically recognizes, even before Peter Thiel, they also thought that George W. Bush, for example, was part of it, or his father, that recognize that things don't happen by chance, and that in history, all the greatest writers, the greatest products were done in a way exoterically for the masses, but they always had an esoteric reality they were hiding in the background. So there is a esoteric reality. It's an influential school of political philosophy. It's rooted in the teaching of another German, American, in this case, Leo Strauss. Leo Strauss died in 1973. And the core intellectual pillar of this movement is the belief that the greatest philosopher throughout history, and in fact, we often hear Jesse Michels referring to not only esotericism, but also Plato. And Plato, apparently just like Machiavelli, for Peter Thiel, who follows the Straussian movement, believed that there is a core esoteric writing, and that the Straussians argue that because these thinkers held dangerous or heterodox ideas that could disrupt society or get them persecuted, they hid the true message, the radical meanings between the lines, and the surface text, which we call the exoteric, becomes the public. What is meant for what people think of Plato, Machiavelli, officially, what they are taught in school is not what is actually hidden in the esoteric message, which is hidden, which was left only for a select elite capable of handling that truth. So it's a very elitist way of I mean, the critic of modernity and relativism. Straussian reject modern progressivism, modern relativism, and nihilism. They argue that Enlightenment mistakenly abandoned the search for natural right. Now, we know that Jesse Michels used to be an atheist by his own admission. We're not saying it after I'm going to let you hear it, but then he transformed himself. He was obviously very leftist, as he was writing for the Huffington Post is basically very progressive, very leftist. And now, though, it's changed. because he's on board with Peter Thiel. Let's continue to hear what he has to say here in this interview.
It is just cut and dry, kind of like tech investing, like have like a P&L that needs to perform. So it's almost like a little fund within the family office. And then the other part of the role is like bringing in interesting thinkers and ideas. And that's sort of parlayed nicely into producing the portal, which, as we were talking about, I hope gets restarted at some point. And then
you produce the portal?
Yeah, I did.
What do you mean by that? So you get the guests for that?
Yeah, I would get all the guests for that and like help with the research and the programming. It was pretty turnkey in terms of the actual production itself. I kind of set up a deal with the studio out here and it helped with like the initial strategy in terms of like ad sales and stuff. But
yeah, sure, cool, yay! Here in California, it all goes flowing and it's all natural. We have a great joint and we think about the future, guys. It's not as natural as it seems, because behind the scenes we have great manipulators, like I explain in this book. The mentor, for example, of Diana Walsh Bazooka, who has been, in fact, a guest on American Alchemy, is Jacques Vallée. Jacques Vallée, for Jesse Michels, is, of course, an idol. Let me show you how he treats Jacques Vallée.
Well, there is something deeper that creates the illusion of space and time in humans.
The UFO world can be a spooky one. It's hard to know which sources to trust. You have to listen to your inner voice about who has ulterior motives, who is profiteering, who is spreading disinformation, and who is performing.
Yes, you. Because Jesse Michels is the kind of guy who will never have on his show Leo Zagami.
No.
He will have all the gatekeepers that I have listed in this book, the Vatican's top secret alien agenda, but he's not going to ever have Leo Zagami. And this is very clear. They want a control of the narrative. We are talking about Sabbatean Frankist. When I said the Straussian movement that is promoted by Peter Thiel, Leo Strauss was a German-American political thinker and scholar of Ashkenazi Jewish descent. He actually came from a Sabbatean Frankist family. He was born in a place filled with Sabbatean Frankists in Kirchheim, Essen-Nassau, Prussia. So we are talking here about people who are all, all bodies from ancient times, basically their families, their DNA. He actually recognizes that. I'm going to make you hear after what he says in another interview. But watch what he says about Jacques Vallée.
Psychological operations on the American population. The point is, without an internal compass, it's easy to end up alone in a hallway of mirrors.
These days, since our technology platforms are so high.
Wow, Alpudov, woo! And he went and interviewed him with his pal, Eric Weinstein.
Generate effects, then it really is a zoo of options and possibilities.
But occasionally you meet longtime researchers who are clearly on their own genuine quest for meaning in life, and their inquiry into UFOs is just one.
Here we start with the butt kissing. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the butt kissing. At the end of this butt kissing, his mouth will be turned brown.
A harbinger of the next paradigm, a fascinating scientific anomaly with profound sociological implications.
I would be ashamed of being human if I didn't try to find out, or at the minimum, acknowledge that it was there.
Jacques Vallée is the ultimate archetype of this. He is a serious researcher with a computer science, physics, and astronomy background. He even helped build the earliest version of the internet, a project called ARPANET, with legendary computer scientist Doug Engelbart. And for the purposes of this episode, he has probably talked to more UFO witnesses and seen more exotic material than any living person. In fact, it's now almost conventional knowledge that if you're an average citizen who encounters a UFO crash, mail the materials to Jacques. Jacques' books are incredibly dense and detailed, not for the faint of heart. But if you read them closely, Jacques can drop some truth bombs you won't get anywhere else, like in his book Revelations, Alien Contact and Human Deception, when he hints that Bob Lazar was actually an MK Ultra patient, possibly the subject of government brainwashing, which led him to believe he worked on reverse engineering UFOs. On page 9, Valet writes, Robert Lazar also told me of his strange memory lapse.
So it's interesting, how he covers for the reverse engineering, blames Bob Lazar of having been manipulated, and it all fits with the fact that, remember guys, this is the Silicon Alchemy. This is Silicon Valley, where people have been taking advantage of this reverse engineering for decades to construct the present reality we are living in.
Of the peculiar liquid he was made to drink.
It violated a lot of what we thought was impossible to violate.
But perhaps what I find most interesting about Jacques is that he's just as mystical as he is hard-headed and scientific. He's
not mystical, he's a Satanist. But okay, we want to brand him mystical, Sabbatean Frankist. Now, an interesting thing that I would like to tell you about the Sabbatean Frankists, because people don't know this, but today I want to make it very clear. The Sabbatean Frankists believe in interdimensionality. And this is something that people don't understand about the work of Jacob Frank, especially as you should check J. Michelson monograph, The Heresy of Jacob Frank from Jewish Messianism to Esoteric Myth. If you want to, of course, know everything about the Sabbatean Frankist and Jeffrey Epstein, you can read my book, The Rise and Fall of a Frankist Monster. But guys, we are talking about, according to Jacob Frank, we are living in one of 1,000 of a total, of different dimensions. A realm, according to Frank, is but 1,000th of the total universe, meaning our own cosmos is just a microscopic fraction of the reality. Jacob Frank believed that there was a kind of a cosmic curtain separating human corruption from true divinity. And also another thing that, of course, people like Timothy Alberino will never talk about, because, of course, then J.C. Michels will not have them on their show. Well, he talked about the Nephilim, Jacob Frank. He talked about the Nephilim as controlling a reality which is, of course, almost like we're talking about a Gnostic vision almost of a reality, in which you have the demiurge, but that it's like this reality of ours is in some way is corrupt, and so it can only be saved by liberating ultimately and giving full control to the Nephilim in the end times, which are in reality, for a lot of Jewish scholars, the fallen angels, and they were, of course, a product of those watchers that rebelled from God. Now, so behind this curtain, we have an uncursed physical realm, which is inhabited by immortal beings. The chief entity of this hidden world was referred by Jacob Frank as the Big Brother. And this Big Brother was also known as Baba. Baba, which was the nickname, there was the discussion between the brother of Jeffrey Epstein, and we never...
Something about Clinton.
Somebody
And
ascribed it
Trump.
to Clinton or Trump. But in contrast to the good word, Frank taught that our immediate world is directed by free-flowed evil demigods, which is why it's filled with mortality and corruption. And all this, I repeat, is not known to most people, that the Sabbatean Frankists have reversed all the reality. They make basically for them, for Jacob Frank, just as his predecessor, Shabbatai Zevi, the sexual magical aspect was to get in contact with the Nephilim. It's almost like today we have Father De Young, which I've discussed also in my book, Orthodox Father, who is the guy who went to Tucker Carlson and discussed how the Nephilim continue to produce through these rituals that are conducted by people on earth, their descendants in the elite. So we have a lot to say here. that, of course, Jesse Michels will never touch. And Jesse Michels, well, let's continue to hear more about him.
Oh, nice.
Kind of
Nice.
runs itself at a certain point. So really, yeah, mainly like getting guests and stuff.
That's so funny because that intro is not what I would have said at all. Well, first off, I didn't even know you worked at the Daily Show. I guess you're dating yourself a little bit.
I am, man.
I totally thought you were like, maybe you're older than I thought.
I'm 30.
30. Oh man,
Yeah.
man, I'm kind of scared to turn 30.
Yeah, it is scary seeing that number. You're like, oh.
So very young. Now he's probably 34. This interview was from a few years ago. But there is another interesting interview I found where he talks more about also God. And there is some interesting things that he says. Now, this was an interview that was originally allocated for his show, American Alchemy. For some reason, he never uploaded, so then it ended up on the channel of the guy that he actually interviewed. And there is some interesting things that he says that maybe that's the reason why he didn't upload it on his main channel. You know, when things are not uploaded on your main channel,
It's kind of suspicious.
it's always kind of suspicious.
Of Kurt and Theories of Everything podcast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with me and Kurt Mungle. Kurt is a big inspiration for me. I love his show. I am a religious watcher of it. And,
a religious watcher of it. So let's see what he says. Huh?
I think he goes deeper than just about anybody else with some of the top thinkers in the world. And so it was an honor for me to interview him. This was supposed to come out actually on American Alchemy around a year ago, but I took a 9-month break or something like that. Bad timing on my part. So this is a lost interview, but it's an excellent conversation. I hope you enjoy it. It was an honor to speak to Kurt, and comment below if you want more conversations like this. All right. Kurt,
okay, let's go to the beginning of things getting interesting here.
Alexander.
Yeah.
He's a really cool guy too.
Yeah.
I was just speaking of Jesus. This is a total tangent, but in the last week and a half, I just spent some time with Randall Carlson, who works with Graham Hancock. He's this sort of geologist, esotericist. And then Brian Muraresku, who wrote this book called The Immortality Key, which is all about these like ancient mystery rituals, these Eleusinian mystery rituals that took place in Greece, and Socrates, Pythagoras, Aristotle, Plato, they all went through these things. And both of them agree. This is kind of a heretical belief. They think that Jesus never died. And that if you read the text, Pilate, who was the governor of Rome, or of that little contingency of Rome at the time, poked Jesus's flesh with the spear, and it was to see whether he was dead or not. But they think maybe Jesus was given a sedative, and it was sort of either a mystery ritual or he like faked his own death, and then he was put in a shroud of like resuscitating herbs by this guy Joseph of Arimathea, and then he survived and maybe even had a bloodline like and like into today or something, which is really fascinating. I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely heretical. Yeah,
it's heretical, right?
It's heretical. It's heretical. Okay, so let's move forward into the various topics of interest in this interview, aside from this heretical standpoint on Jesus and a possible bloodline, which of course has been covered, especially after the Dan Brown book, for decades. But let's move forward.
It's Horseman and Dawkins, of course. And they were just, you know, like
yeah, and I loved watching
the God.
Okay, here he talks about his link to atheism, when he used to be linked to what is called the new atheist movement. Check out.
Yeah.
From 8 years old.
Yeah.
Up
because this guy here also used to be an atheist.
Until a few years ago.
Yeah, I used to be a fan of, like, you know, the Four Horsemen, Daniel Dennett, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens. Who was the fourth? And the fourth was Horseman. and Dawkins, of course. And they were just, you know, like
and I loved watching
the God delusion and God is not great, and you know, all that stuff. Yeah, it was great.
Yes, it was great, but there's something changed. Oh, wow. You see, if you come from a Reformed Jewish point of view and a Sabbatean Frankist background, of course, you can easily become an atheist, just like Carl Sagan. We talked about him last week. If you want, go and check out last week's episode, because it was actually a very successful episode. This is Jesse Michels, the guy who not only works with Peter Thiel, but is also carrying on a very subtle and secretive mission for Peter Thiel in this soft disclosure kind of context. Yeah, like you call them a talking head. Talking head, yes, a talking head.
And then I started to realize, I don't know, I just think there's so much weirdness that we can't explain to the world. And even through a physics lens, like I'm interested in the anthropic principle and sort of the Goldilocks environment that we live in. And to me, that signals possible intelligent design and anomalies in evolution as well. And so I don't know whether that's God. God to me is sort of a placeholder term, but
a placeholder term. Oh, wow.
And intelligent.
Have you heard of Dembski?
No.
So Dembski.
Have you ever heard of God? I don't know. So let's move forward in this interview, because there is also some other interesting moments that I would like to analyze. So let me see here. There was a specific one.
John D. Rockefeller at the same time. It's this bizarre thing. And so like the only way to be that ruthless is to like hide it in this sort of, and I think about that sort of with respect to Marxism and stuff. Like Stalin is like, I think about this, like Stalin's, we think of Hitler as still the proverbial like worst person in the world. Stalin is definitely a bad person, but he's not thought of in as bad terms as Hitler. And I think that's because fascism is overt and Marxism is covert. And so there's something about the utilitarianism thing where like you can really hide like the most dangerous ideas in the name of like sort of nominal equality. Yeah, so I think, like you said, being suspect of anybody that doesn't acknowledge their own depravity.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So, for instance, years ago, I remember when I started to have this practice of anytime I find myself saying, I'm like, oh, I love myself. I'm doing such a good thing for this person. I question myself. I'm like, how is this from laziness? How is this from selfishness or deceit in some way?
Yes.
Or malice? Okay. So I was washing the dishes, and then I was like, because my sister came home and I started washing the dishes. I'm like, yeah, because you know why I'm doing this? Because I don't want her to come home to a dirty home, and I wanted. And then I realized, no, I'm washing the dishes because I want her to see that I do chores, so that she can do the majority of these other chores. Like I just analyzed myself. I'm like, oh, piece of ish. Like you, and then there's other reasons. Like, so I'm pouring water for someone else first.
Yes.
Why? Because like, oh no, I'm such a gracious host. But there was something else there. I've forgotten the reason, but it's like I want to appear gracious, or I thought there was like a bit of lint in it, so I'm like giving it to you. I forgot what it was.
Totally.
But often, and I have this list I catalog anytime I come up with one, just so that I could remind.
What do you think of these people, Christian? These young millennials? Is this a millennial? In their 30s.
Millennials.
Yes. What do you think of these millennials and the way they?
I don't know. I try not to have opinions about people.
Okay.
I really try not to. So
now we said Jesse Michels likes to be the protagonist these days of one of the most successful podcasts on the subject on the internet. He gets millions of views.
Maybe I'm just jealous.
No, but it's not a question of being.
Because we don't get millions of views, and we should, and but we didn't sell out. So
well, of course, you need to sell out if you want to have a really success.
There was a moment in the beginning of our relationship when somebody came to you and asked you to sell out for a lot of money.
Yes.
But it's not really a
No.
an option.
No, for us, it's not really an option. Like people who have read my books, they know I don't do these books. I don't try these books to get on the circuit for conference and stuff, because I actually go against the whole thing.
Yeah.
I actually expose the people, like Contact in the Desert this year. One of the leading protagonists was the gatekeeper of gatekeepers, as I call him, Danny Sheehan, a former Jesuit novitiate, who, of course, is also a friend of Jesse Michels, who often goes here to the Renaissance Hotel for Contact in the Desert.
First off, I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor for this video, Incogni. They have a very special offer for you. It was so good, I actually personally signed up with the discount code in the offer.
Of course, a lot of sponsors, something that we don't have. So if you want to help us out, the best thing you can do is, of course, purchase the books relating to today's show, in particular, The Rise and Fall of a Frankist Monster, where we talk about Peter Thiel and the Sabbatean Frankists, connected to Jeffrey Epstein, the Vatican's top secret alien agenda, and then you have volume 12, which is the last volume of my confession series, which you can also read on its own. People sometimes, when I go on other people's shows, say, oh, Leo is always pushing a book, because I'm a writer. That's what I do. I'm not somebody who gets paid from Peter Thiel to produce a big show, or, I have... Huh?
The hand is going crazy.
What's it?
The hands.
Oh, the hand is going. What are they saying about it? Here you have your packets.
They were asleep.
Oh, they were asleep.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're sleeping.
Okay, let them sleep. Let them sleep while we go and meet with the Jesuit friend of...
I scripted as a rule. There's a decision made on high as to what's going to get said publicly and what isn't, what questions are going to get asked and what aren't, and so that there's...
So who gives you this power?
There's a bit of theater involved, more than...
Well, you see, they even admitted there's a bit of theater involved. And I mean, Jesse Michels, and of course, this guy, Danny Sheehan, is one of the biggest actors in this play.
A bit of theater involved. What's going on in the background is the real deal making. And the challenge in Washington, D.C., among many others, is that everything is a deal. Everything is a negotiation. So if the Republican Party proposes, $10 billion for a particular program, the Democratic Party, proposes $8 billion for the same program, ahead of time it's going to come out to $9 billion, because it's not a matter of principle. It's not a matter of what the program needs. It's a question of the kind of false dialectic that's going on. So you have to get used to that to begin with. And now we've come into the scene with the UFO phenomenon, and that there have been a number of passes at this in the history. But what's happened is, since the one that everybody knows about is the December 17th of 2017, the front page story in the New York Times. Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon.
Lou Elizondo, gatekeeper, who is also a client of Danny Sheehan, because he's his legal, is his lawyer. So he takes care of his legal affairs. And we know that recently, even Ross Coulthard, who is a gatekeeper himself, has attacked Luis Elizondo because there is some kind of schism within the UFO movement. Luis Elizondo is clearly a government agent. I mean, he says it every time that he needs clearance to even, say anything. So what's the point of having these people in these UFO conferences that are just giving us little things, little peanuts? Oh yeah, have a little peanut, like Jacques Vallée is here at the Contact in the Desert. Yes, there is a program inside the laboratories, aliens to learn the language, and yes, and we have an alien inside the and then few weeks after, he suddenly changed. I mean, I always think that these people are very clever because, of course, they are liars, professional liars, and professional Satanists.
In esotericism, parapsychology, and Philip K. Dick, as he is nuts and bolts analysis of the material science and physics involved in UFOs.
We really don't have a good idea of what reality is.
When Steven Spielberg wanted to depict an eccentric yet brilliant scientist studying UFOs for his famous movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, he decided to base the character, played by Francois Truffaut, off of Jacques. I've been privileged enough to have a few private conversations with Jacques prior to this interview. He often doesn't answer my questions directly and almost seems to speak in code and parables, leaving me with breadcrumbs in the form of books and anecdotes, but not explicating his point.
Yeah, so he admits, the breadcrumb thing, but then he is part of the whole narrative because, of course, he's working for Peter Thiel. So let's remember again where Jesse Michels comes from.
Beginning
But-
and end.
But so then you started your own content, and so that's the thing that I how I would have said it is that you're now like a content creator who's also a partner or also working at Thiel. But like, why did you start your own content?
Yeah, and we've had these conversations in private a lot. So I want to get your take on this as well. But like, I was looking at like, the investing I was doing, and it was a lot of fun. And partially, I had this like amazing cheat code, if you will, or like undue access that I was lucky to get because I work with one of the best tech investors of all time, and he has a great reputation, and people want us on their cap table.
Somebody in Frankist, great investments, great money, and then, of course, dedicates himself to a very important topic that these days is, of course, the control disclosure that not only the government has put together, but also part of the private sector that includes, of course, none other than Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel is somebody who is not like any kind of guy, but he's a guy who it's really into going and criticizing modernity and relativism, but at the same time, while he's rejecting progressivism, moral relativism, and nihilism, he's pushing for the AI and the control of the system by a high technologically advanced society. So we have the Straussian movement, which Peter Thiel adapts in his ideas for the technology sector, that views itself as the esoteric elite. So you see, Peter Thiel has almost initiated and got into his lodge, if you want to say it in those terms, Jesse Michels, and then the title gives it away. I mean, you call your show American Alchemy. I mean, it's pretty clear now what he's doing there. But there is also another interesting element in this story, because in one of the interviews, he invites a guy which I've also exposed in my latest book, a guy called Jason Gioriani. Now, Jason Gioriani claims that all the religions are an invention of the aliens.
Immediately before the Renaissance, you had these huge UFO battles over various European cities. Huge triangular craft, spheres of various colors, attacking each other, some of them falling from out of the sky. What a lot of people are concerned about, including people in the deep state of our own government, is that the bad guys won. In the struggle over reshaping human history, we wound up losing a rebellion against a control system that abides to this day.
Who is actually in the driver's seat when it comes to these sort of scientific paradigm shifts? Who is pumping these ideas through these architects?
The religious control system on the planet.
And so what is that?
This thing is very similar to a thing that's happened in our biblical records where a Lord presented Moses with a pattern to build a tabernacle. They came out of the sky, they handed him stone tablets, and this phenomena that's taking place today is as old as our history.
At the time the Black Plague breaks out, there are many UFO sightings. There are sightings of objects that land in fields. It was so prominent that hysteria broke out about it in the French court.
So, Jason Giuliani, half Iranian, half Swedish Irish, and somebody who works in contact with a group, the Jellyfish Intelligence. Now, he talks and has been talking about, even on American Alchemy, about a mysterious Londoner. This mysterious Londoner is his contact. Jellyfish was founded in 2011 with Kate Mahoney serving as CEO and Michael Iorio. These are people who are veterans of the infamous private security firm Blackwater. And their CEO consultant for Europe is Jonathan Bolter, who used to be in my lodge in London, and even Christy knows it.
I know a lot about him.
So
Too much.
yes, so for years we have had people behind the scene.
And he went to your conference, by the way, in London.
And he was at my conference in London, and I greet him as somebody.
It's in my book too.
I mean, I know him for 30 years. The guy, it's not like I know him. He has a dual role. He works as a team member in a company called BIG, which is actually means Buckingham Industrial Group. Don't ask me what this group does, because it's simply a front for an intelligence operation. Together with the other group, he works officially as CEO. I mean, you can go on LinkedIn and find him. He's the CEO consultant for Jellyfish Europe Covert Intelligence Operations. So he is the guy who controls Jason Giuliani. Jason Giuliani talks about this mysterious Londoner, but Jason Giuliani also attended the school where Jeffrey Epstein was teaching, the Dalton School in New York. Yes.
It's incredible how this all connects.
It all connects, and he was actually kicked out eventually from his position as an academic teaching position at the New Jersey Institute of Technology when somebody posing as a false right-wing guy made him say that in the future there will be concentration camps in Europe, that by the year 2050 Adolf Hitler will be in the coins and the money printed in European currency. I mean, this guy is literally insane. But of course, Jesse Michels, as a typical Sabbatean Frankist, loves the Nazis.
And Charlemagne was considering declaring war on the tyrants of the air.
3 men and a woman were seen descending from these aerial ships. The entire city gathered about them, saying that they were magicians sent by Charlemagne's enemy to destroy the French harvest.
The plague broke out only after these people would land in the fields, and they would go around with these hoods on and these spray cans, and these guys would walk and deliver door-to-door service, spraying the doors of individual homes, where then the plague would break out.
Well, who are these people?
Exactly. Ingo Swann is being tasked to remote view the moon.
Ingo Swann, discussing because he also wrote a book on Marian apparitions, and he was one of the remote viewers of Hal Puthoff. Let's not forget that. So here we have really Jesse Michels involved with all kinds of, and then let's not forget that Giuliani was a key figure in the alt-right. I mean, right at the beginning of the alt-right. We're not joking here. I mean, there is, let me see if I can find it here. I'm not sure. Let's see if I can, because guys, this is all connected, and I mean, and my name appears every now and then in these people's crazy articles and stuff. Now, Troy Southgate works and was in the lodge where also Jonathan Boulter was. He doesn't mention Jonathan Boulter. I was invited in 2002 to join a Masonic lodge in London, actually given that when I came to presence, blah, blah, blah. Then when you go under, you can see I had here, watch.
Is your name in here?
Of course. Another lodge member, a highly animated Italian fellow by the name of Leo Zagami, a former record producer, took me aside and told me that he represented the Illuminati. As he explained, there were Revolian Masonic elements within the American CIA that were dedicated to the immediate overthrow of the British establishment as a means of reversing liberal trends. That and then it goes on.
That
Zagami.
was the last I saw of Zagami.
So I mean,
What he saw there. He saw.
So that's what, you know, I mean, we're talking about a very intricate world of secretive Freemasons, intelligence operators, and of course, Leo Zagami featured somehow.
Always dancing around in the middle of it.
But let's go back to the Jesuit Danny Sheehan.
And Chris Mellon, very importantly, was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, both under the Clinton administration and under the W. Bush administration. So he's kind of a bipartisan, Mellon family guy. And Lou Elizondo was involved in the program that the Pentagon had, a secret program, above top secret, the real elements of the program, where they were attempting to develop a weapon system, an advanced weapon system, using the technology that they'd recovered from UFO craft. The thing that people don't...
We know that. It's called the Legacy Program. But everybody has to, like he's really an actor, this guy. Yeah.
Realize, there's this big hubbub, with the front page story in the New York Times, and everybody's saying, oh, here's two amazing whistleblowers that've come out of the shadows, and they've come forward and they've made this extraordinary set of revelations about the existence of this secret program. And it turns out the whole thing was authorized. I mean, that the United States Defense Department Office of Pre-Publication Review.
Yes, that whole article. Of course, if you go on the New York Times, you're authorized. It's a little bit like when in 1974 the first article came up about the MK Ultra, and suddenly everybody, what is MK Ultra? And then you had a commission, and everybody, oh, and still to this day we don't really know what happened with MK Ultra, but they keep on talking about it. Actually they got back into it, and then you have Paulina Luna, and then you have all those other Tim Bush, all those Republicans, and say, oh, we're gonna go and dig this. And guys, if we have to believe in all the rubbish because it is rubbish when it never materialized. Trump promised the JFK release, the UFO, and even Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
You're going to get it all. You're going to see everything. Everything's going to be great.
Yeah, sure. But in any case, these people are a bunch of scammers, and of course they are making money on this topic as well as controlling the UFO narrative.
And or you just go for it.
I was just gonna say, I remember when I got an email from you in like 2019 or 2020, and I was like, "Oh, Thiel cap!" Like I was so pumped. I know you, but I was really pumped that I was like, "Oh."
So
man,
remember, Peter Thiel controls American Alchemy, controls this disclosure, but he doesn't do it because he wants suddenly, to help humanity or even get to this alien technology, which he already has. He simply wants to control all the various, by doing this, they have like a bird's eye view. How you say that? On all the protagonists of this topic. And this interview that was made right at the start of Jesse Michaels' mission, well, it's very revealing.
To connect with Thiel cap.
Yeah. No, it's like the Sun Tzu, like a battle is won or lost before it's fought. It's like an email is won or lost before it's fought. And like I'm lucky that I got popped into a role where I had a lot of leverage.
Peter Thiel has a secret society. We know that by the emails that were even exchanged and found in the Jeffrey Epstein files. We know that then the secret society actually dedicated a whole article on leozagami.com because it's like Peter Thiel became, for me, somebody that you need to know about. And I think that the secretive dialogue secret society is definitely behind American Alchemy and Jesse Michels.
And I saw that and I was like, okay, like on a go forward basis, I sort of want to do that in my own way in terms of building a brand around really cool ideas. And then the other thing I think is just like the macro of venture right now. And I know we've had a lot of these conversations, but like, if you look at like late stage venture right now, look at like the multiples a lot of these companies are trading at, and then you compare them to their kind of public equivalents that are trading at literally half the multiples. And then the amount of money that's been raised by these late stage funds like Tiger and Vision Fund and all these sovereign wealth funds. I look at that and I'm like, late stage venture just really, whatever the ARB was over the last 4 or 5 years, which was like private late stage stuff, was
Jesse Michels, Ashkenazi Jew, Sabbatean Frankist, works with Peter Thiel. Wow. And his father, Barry. Let's go and check Barry before we end up this show, because today we have covered a lot. Probably more than we could chew, because I have a lot of stuff that still I would like to relate to you, but it will take hours. I think that is very important that we understand that these people are behind the scenes controlling the narrative. And that even if I personally enjoy sometimes American Alchemy myself, well, it comes with a warning that you cannot trust anything these people say or do. There is an article here, Against World Order, Alien Threats and the American Catacomb, that is, of course, based also on the work of Peter Thiel. And it's rather interesting, and it's also very much not a laughing matter. Please, Christy.
Despite his declared Straussianism and corresponding caution when speaking publicly, Peter Thiel shared his startling views about aliens in his 2024 interview with Joe Rogan, where he demonstrated familiarity with the work of UFO researchers like Jack Valet and Diana Pasuka. Leo Strauss was a political philosopher who believed in esoteric writing that at times aims to conceal the dangerous truths that might destabilize social order. Thiel says in the Rogan interview that disclosure of UFOs could have such a destabilizing effect.
So they want to control it. And it's very clear, guys. I hope you appreciated today's show. Please share it with your friends and family. Subscribe to our channels with the bell so you get warned for our next show.
Thank you to the sponsors.
And all the people who have purchased my books, as well as Christy's book. Actually, books, because you have more than one.
Yeah.
My favorite is always the Zagami Family Cookbook, because I love to eat this great food. Zagami Family Cookbook, Authentic Italian Cooking by Christy Zagami. And then you have Confessions of an Illuminati Princess, Volume 1 and 2, which are also a different
Can I say something about the cookbook?
Yes.
My cookbook's really good because there's a lot of recipes in there that only take like for instance, like pasta recipes that just take like pecorino cheese and that's it, and water and skill to make a nice, pasta dish, and pepper, but like for pecorino, like cacio e pepe is just 2 or 3, ingredients, and so is fettuccine Alfredo.
Yeah, and I tell you guys, the problem is I actually did a research this week on why the prices are so high here in the United States in restaurants, and why it's becoming increasingly difficult for anybody, even for
Rich people can't even go out and eat.
not rich people, but I guess people from the middle class nowadays have to really think before they go out, because they have 2 or 3 distributions that take care of the food for all the restaurants in the United States, and they are deliberately rising the prices so they can destroy the independent restaurants. They only want chains, guys, and chains don't deliver the quality food. And for that reason, this is actually one more reason to purchase this book and eat at home, where at least you know what kind of food you are cooking, the quality of it. And if you have help from Christy, you can really transform, as I said many times, your kitchen in a 5-star Italian restaurant. It's really...
and the skill it takes to make Italian food is just basically you just learn it. Like I had to learn how to make things, and then I took I made a lot of mistakes, but then with the trial and the error, then you figure it out. But you got to keep trying, and you can't give up, and it's not that hard. It's just you have to know how to do it. So but that's for the harder recipes that are very difficult. But like there's so many easy recipes too that you can do.
Somebody is saying here, I don't eat out anymore. I have Christy's cookbook. It's very good. Thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me play this a second.
Yes, he likes to make diagrams. So let's call that the corporeal world, where you have space and time. And then there's another world called the intermediate world, where it's just subject to time, but not space. So when you go in your dreams, if you wake someone up, they still share the same timeline, but they went in space in some illusory sense, in some hallucination. So it's not the same space. So they're a part of the intermediate realm. And then he said there's some yogis, like super religious people and enlightened people and so on, who can access the aveternal realm, aveternal, which harkens back to, I believe, Aquinas, but I'm not sure why he doesn't call it eternal. Doesn't matter. The aveternal realm, which is timeless and spaceless. And he says that's where, I don't even think God starts there, but God creates that which creates the rest. And so those are some states you can get into. And he was saying that, he even said that, like, look, when I was studying with the yogis, the sadhus in the 1940s.
Listen to this specific part.
In the 1950s or 60s, before there was heavy Western influence. We think in the West that there are certain people called enlightened people and so on. He's like, it is firstly the way the Vedics think about it, or people who are.
This is very important, guys, because this is the way the elite thinks of themselves.
That tradition is that you have to be a part of the bloodline. So it's not something like a belief that you can just adopt in the West. And then you're like, now let me take psychedelics, let me get enlightened and awakened and so on. It's actually only for a certain. It's heavily racist in that sense. Like it's only genetically for a certain type of people. Secondly, you have to have celibacy. As soon as you have sex, you cut off.
Interesting.
And that's what's interesting to me, is that I was speaking to someone who's like, there are some people who they don't like commitment of any sort, and they're the types of people who like to travel. They're like desultory. They don't like to be in one place, and they don't like commitment.
No sex for the wicked, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Put like. What did it say? What is he saying?
Wait, turn it around. He loves her.
Don't forget to purchase the Vatican's Top Secret Alien Agenda, Hidden Encounters, Forbidden Rituals, and Jesuit Astronomers in the Age of UFO Disclosure.
Just 20 days after the book.
Yes.
And to me, I haven't found a case of that when I talked to the person
so I think really if you were to try to position yourself in this serendipity with what I would want to do anyways, it's like what I'd enjoy spending my time doing is
interest with UFOs is maladaptive to most people. How so?
Oh yeah, you're quoting me on, I think, Danny Jones. I think in some ways, and this actually speaks to, we're on modern wisdom here. I think a lot of what people should be focused on is the lower end of Maslow's hierarchy. Like it's like subsistence living, paying taxes on time, putting food on the table, being basically healthy. And then I think at a certain point, then you start to care about this sort of more like existential, who are we? What's our place in the universe? What is humanity's place in the cosmos? And so that's why I think in some ways it's maladaptive, because if you don't have that lower end sort of figured out, it's like, why focus on this